F25 and M32 husband suddenly into hotwife kink. Husband suddenly into gangbang, cuckold. How do I handle this? Hi everyone. So my husband developed a new fetish a few months ago and I'm not sure what to call it, maybe cuckold, but not exactly. Basically, he gets turned on by the idea of multiple men pleasuring me. Threesomes, gangbangs, all male scenarios. Sometimes he says he'd like to watch and then join in later. Since this started, he only watches that kind of porn and during sex he always wants to roleplay, talk about it. Like which guys I'd be with, what I'd be doing, how much I'd enjoy it. He's also super curious about swinging. The thing is, I'm not really comfortable with it. As a fantasy, fine. But in real life, I don't want to bring other men into our marriage. We also have a kid, and I worry about what this could mean long term. He's even hinted at which of his friends he could imagine joining us, which honestly freaked me out. Recently he asked me to show him a video of me with someone else. Back when we started dating we talked about how both of us had old sex tapes with exes, and we've made a couple together too. But I told him there's no way I'd ever show him something like that. When we first met, he was totally against even the idea of anyone else touching me. Now it feels like it's all he thinks about. My question is, how can I help fulfill this fantasy for him without actually bringing other men into it? My question is, how can I help fulfill this fantasy for him without actually bringing other men into it? You don't have to. You can straight up say no thanks. Not for me. Let's come up with something different we both enjoy. You shouldn't be doing stuff in sex you're not in love with for the sake of the other person. Straight up tell your husband that it's not for you, drop it. End of discussion. You don't have to entertain someone's kink just because they have it. That stuff can be a slippery slope to be honest. And I mean the porn even. The more he watches that type of porn the stronger his desires for it will be. Too much porn, tell him to quit it ASAP. It's like watching too many medieval or war movies and wishing you were there because it seems exciting at the screen. It's all fun times and giggles until you see the real action taking place. He needs to stop watching porn. That's where that came from. Also, just tell him that you have no interest in that at all. That man is addicted to porn. This is a porn-fueled fantasy that never works out in real life. There are endless stories here about couples opening up their relationship and it always ends the same, the inevitable end of the relationship. Do anything except involving other people. Never do anything you're not comfortable with. Good luck. Fiancé, 33M, tracked my 33F location to do a pop-up. My 33F, fiancé, 33M, have been together for 7 years and are set to get married in 2026. However, I'm starting to have serious doubts because I feel like issues are coming back up that I thought were already resolved. We share our locations and sometimes my location doesn't update on his end, and vice versa, and it looks like it's off. He's responded to this happening very unfavorably in the past and would jump to conclusions and think I'm out doing something malicious. We've talked at length about this and I've communicated how his reaction when that happens is not acceptable and he needs to assume best intent. Things in this area have been good, or so I thought. After work today, I stopped by the grocery store to pick up a few snacks. I was planning on just running in and out because I wanted to get home, so I kept my phone in my purse instead of directly in my hand. As I'm going through the aisles, I hear a voice say, "Hey," and to my surprise, it's my fiancé. I was completely taken aback because I just was not expecting to see him, but I was happy to see him nonetheless. I quickly realized that this was not a random meeting. I could tell he was upset and he asked me why I wasn't answering his calls. I had no idea he had been calling as my phone was in my purse and I must have not heard it ring in the busy store. When I took out my phone to show him that it was in my bag and that was the reason I missed his calls, I saw that he had called and FaceTimed me 10 times. He said that my location was off, which I quickly showed him on my phone that it wasn't. Also, that made no sense because how else would he have known that I was at the store? He proceeded to silently follow me around the store as I finished getting my groceries and check out. We awkwardly left separately in our 2 cars. He sees absolutely nothing wrong with what he did and feels it was justified because he thought something was going on due to the location being off and me missing his calls. I'm furious and feel like he had no right to act this way. It's completely unhealthy, controlling, and I don't deserve it. Has anyone experienced behavior like this with a partner? Was it something you were able to work through, if so? If not, how did you gain the courage to move on? Thanks for any encouraging words and hearing me vent. Do not marry this man. He would be gone if he did that to me. Me and my husband share locations simply because we live rural and come home in the pitch darkness. If I have tire blowout and end up in a ditch unconscious, I like the fact my husband can easily find me. This is creepy stalker behavior. I would stop sharing your location. That's extremely weird behavior. I cannot emphasize this enough. Get away from him. I can guarantee that his controlling behavior doesn't stop here. After this, he's going to put AirTags in your car and a tracker on your phone. Please don't marry this guy. He sounds unhinged and you're clearly not taking this seriously. He's not just a bad partner. He's dangerous. On top of that, he's a cheater. Please find some self-respect and leave. My question is, why does he feel the need to do this? Any issues in the relationship? History of infidelity? I say this because you state issues that were resolved, so obviously there is more to this story. I, 36 male, broke one of my wife's, 36 female, rules about weed, and now I'm not sure how to recover. Hi everyone, I could use some perspective. My wife, 36F, and I, 36M, have been together for 16 years. We first met in a dingy college basement, and now we're married with 2 boys, 6 and 2. We've weathered a lot together. Not long after our engagement, her mom's affair came to light, which led to her parents' divorce and has always cast a shadow over us. A few months after our wedding, I was diagnosed with MS, leaving me with nerve damage and partial vision loss. On top of that, we've faced the usual ups and downs of marriage and parenting. Despite it all, we've built a strong life together. For context, I used to take medication for the nerve pain, but the side effects turned me into a zombie. Weed, legal both medically and recreationally in my state, has been the only thing that helps without changing who I am. The issue is, my wife hates that I smoke. We compromised and the rule in our home is, only at night and never in the house. I've respected that until this past weekend. We just got back from Disney with her parents. Her dad covered the trip, which I'm grateful for, but spent most of the time talking down to me. He's ex-dia, rigid, convinced he's always right, and honestly exhausting. He's good to my kids, but being around him for too long wears me out. My wife ended up stuck in the middle, her mom venting about her dad, me venting about her dad, and her dad venting about his ex-wife and me. Add in the summer heat, travel stress, and 2 little kids, and by the end of the week we were all completely drained. When we got home and the kids were finally in bed, after a week of not smoking, I stepped outside, took 1 hit from my vape pen, and came back in only to fall asleep with it still in my pocket. The next morning, while taking the dog out before church, I reached in my pocket, found the vape, and absent-mindedly took a hit. My wife happened to walk by the window at that exact moment. She didn't actually see me inhale, but my reaction gave me away. I'm a terrible liar, so I immediately admitted it, though I admit I blurted out excuses I now regret. Once I calmed down, I owned up to it and admitted I was completely wrong. Breaking this rule has hit her hard. She's been crying on and off since, won't talk to me, and it feels like she's ready to walk out. Coincidentally, she smoked all the time when we were in our 20s, but she's since changed her stance after we had the kids. I've admitted it was a mistake and haven't made any more excuses, but I don't know how to move forward. Quitting weed and going back on the old meds isn't an option as they made me a shell of myself, but right now it feels like that's the only way to make her happy. We've been seeing a couples counselor for about a year and our next appointment is scheduled for Thursday, but I'm terrified she's considering divorce over this. How would you handle this situation and rebuild trust? Too long did not read. Wife, 36F, and I, 36M, have been together 16 years, 2 kids. I have MS and weed is the only thing that helps my nerve pain without awful side effects, but our rule has always been, only at night and never in the house. After a stressful Disney trip with her parents, I slipped and took a hit in the morning. She caught me, feels deeply betrayed, and hasn't stopped crying. We have counseling Thursday, but I'm scared she's considering divorce. How do I rebuild trust? This all seems like an insane overreaction. This sounds like there's a lot of bigger fears and frustrations underlying this. Might be worth saying in your appointment, babe, I know I broke the house rule in your trust, but I feel like you have a lot more on your mind than just the vape. Do you have other underlying things that are making this feel even worse? Or something of that nature? Just because she used it recreationally doesn't mean it doesn't have real medical benefits that greatly improve people's lives. I'd think she'd want you to find relief. Damn. As someone, 37F, living in chronic pain who is unable to find relief with other meds, her reaction seems extreme. I personally prefer gummies. I can't smoke enough to get relief, but the point being is that it makes life more bearable. People who don't live in chronic pain don't get it though. It blew my mind when I learned the normal pain level is supposed to be 0. I live at 5-6 most days. How does she deal with your MS and therapy? Does it come up? Is she understanding or does she think you should just tough it out and go on like you live a normal, healthy life? Your wife sets rules for your behavior? That is, your behavior as pertains to using a legal substance to control the effects of a debilitating disease? Not that you have exhibited concerning tendencies using that substance, just that she doesn't like it. And then she totally overreacts when you vary it from the plan she unilaterally set for your treatment? I think the answer to your question is pretty obvious. I think this isn't about seeing you vape a single time in the house. I think it's likely about the ups and downs of parenting and whatever led you to marriage counseling in the first place. It's more of a straw that broke the camel's back. How do I, 41 female, convince my husband, 43 male, that his demeanor sets the tone of our house? I, 41F, have been married to my husband, 43M, for almost a decade now. It's been more downs than ups, but he's a good partner sometimes and a good dad, 5-yo son, most of the time. He was diagnosed with autism about 5 years ago, which I used to explain away a lot of the weird behaviors that I'd never experienced in any other relationships. When things are good, they are great. But he spends the majority of his days storming around our house as this imposing large force of negativity. He doesn't often outright yell and scream at us, and it's been years since he's thrown anything at the wall. So why do me and kiddos still feel so on edge so much of the time? I can't figure out how to explain to him that stomping around, slamming cabinets, aggressively loading the dishwasher, constantly swearing, not at us, but a monologue of his angry thoughts, and snapping at us when we talk to him ruins the mood of the entire house. He says it's unfair that he is responsible for the mood of the entire house and we should worry about ourselves. I say it's extremely hard to keep my chipper attitude when there is a dark storm of a person making my heart race and palms sweaty. Obviously this affects our kid, and that's my boundary. I will not allow my kid to grow up in a scary household where he learns to tiptoe around other people and is anxious and stressed out about hearing his mom constantly try to talk his dad down. I can't tell you how many times a day I say, please be kind to us. I went and saw a divorce attorney 3.5 weeks ago, and he must have checked my location because his behavior did a 180 and he's been pleasant as pie since that day. But this weekend he slipped back into the norm and it really highlights how anxious I walk around and how our kid isn't stupid and sees it all. Husband was on the verge of a meltdown Saturday evening, so I grabbed kiddo and went out for ice cream to give him space. Over ice cream he says, "Why can't dad just talk nicely like you?" And it really hit home that this isn't sustainable. I've been making excuses for years due to autism, but if he can be kind and gentle for weeks on end, which is the true him? Is he capable of staying in niece mode, or is that masking and the grumpy mean dude is the real him? I really don't want a divorce. It will make all our lives exponentially more difficult. But I'll take difficult over my kiddo growing up with trauma due to a perpetually angry father. Or am I blown this way out of proportion and dudes are just like this? He keeps trying to convince me that I'm the problem and I'm too sensitive. But my rebuttal is that our dogs don't speak English, so the fact they hide behind the furniture when he's in his moods is evidence that I'm not being overly sensitive. No, the majority of dudes are not like this and you are not blowing it out of proportion. You are not too sensitive. I think you know this already. He knows how to behave but he chooses not to. This isn't because he's autistic, it's because he wants you to live in fear. He says it's unfair that he is responsible for the mood of the entire house and we should worry about ourselves. Bullshit. We're not just talking about feelings, we're talking about his actions and his behaviors frightening his family. You are on the right path. Please don't throw away all your progress and resign your child to an unhappy home. He's only capable of staying in niece mode for as long as he thinks it takes for the threat of you leaving him to go away. The fact he only even bothered to try when he thought he'd finally pushed things too far is proof of that, and the fact he can't keep it up and isn't doing anything to try and maintain control should tell you that any hopes there's a kinder, patient, better partner hiding somewhere under the hostility and selfishness is just wishful thinking. I'm going to make the obligatory recommendation of Why Does He Do That? By Lundy Bancroft for you, because this can't simply be explained by autism or guys being guys. When your kindergartner has a better grasp on when and how to let big feelings out than your fully grown co-parent, you've got a problem. Spouse and I are both autistic, and know your spouse's aggressive behavior is not normal and you absolutely are not too sensitive. While work burnout is a thing, we take walks outside, exercise, play games, or cuddle our pets. It is everyone's responsibility to regulate their emotions and not ruin the household vibe by being an angry mess. Autism isn't an excuse to refuse to ever regulate or manage yourself. It may take trying different things to see what helps, but your husband has already proved that he only cleaned up his act when he realized you were going to leave. Please follow through and leave this guy. You and your kid deserve better.